Sorry to get you out of your comfortable chairs, but you know what? You came a heck of a lot farther, some of you, just to come to St. Louis. So, Kathy, my brothers and I, Missy, we wanted to thank you for being here. Because really, you guys being here, look at cousins from Texas, Oklahoma, you guys being here really kind of embodies what our dad was all about. A genuine people guy, like the biggest ever.
Yeah, for sure.
Not a superficial people guy, but a guy that wanted to know you, what you were all about, where you came from, where your parents came from, what your family was all about, what you did for a living, what sports you played, okay? Never met a stranger. And we are so blessed and so thankful to not only have him in our lives and have him enjoy a nice long life, but we're blessed to have all of you around us and with us, and it makes it so much not only easier but more meaningful. And again, we just want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts. And I'm sure there's a few of you, if anybody wants to share a memory about Dad with everybody else, you're welcome to do it. I know it could go on for a while. And I heard somebody say
That's
they were
okay.
planning on leaving 10 minutes ago. But we just have so many, you all know, we have so many great memories of our dad. And he's just one of a kind, you know, and between the music and the gourmet cooking and the people loving, sports,
family, church.
you know, I might turn it real quick. Where's Christopher?
Right over here.
Well, you said something the other day, and I don't want to speak for you, but Dad, the last year or so, right? You pointed it out. Whenever we come over and visit him at he and Kathy's house, by the way, they live on a street called Summerhaven, and it's kind of a peaceful name to it, right? It's just like a little retreat. We go have a cocktail at Summerhaven. And Chris pointed out that every time we walked out of the house, after going over for a Mizzou football game or going over for dinner or whatever it was, Dad always made a point to say, "Hey, Sport, he didn't want us to get out the door yet." He goes, "I love you." And he wanted me. Did you hear me? You hear me?
If you didn't respond,
If we didn't respond,
he didn't want
like
to.
right away,
No, I didn't.
he said, "Do you hear?" And
Good, thank you.
you know, I don't know whether he knew, you know, that maybe his time here was, you know, a short bit away or whatever, or what, or, you know, not that he never said "I love you," but it was just, it was more frequent and more opportunistic on his part, and it was just so touching, and we always, of course, always tell him we love him back. So we're blessed. I mean, we're so blessed and so thankful. We met Kathy 40 years ago. They were married 30 years ago. Some of you said the church looks a little familiar. I said, well, it's probably because you were here 30 years ago.
Right.
And you got a good memory. So we are just delighted that y'all could be here, and we appreciate it so much. And we love y'all. So thank you.
Thanks, Nick.
I just want to add a couple things. I mean, that was really, really good.
It was good.
Alex and I taught him well.
Who knew? It was good.
Like Ed Sullivan. I just want to mention a couple things. First of all, and you heard this, not only myself or Kathy, but I want everyone to understand that Dad had a very comfortable passing away. He was never in pain, literally never in pain. he was able to come home and be at home. Kathy right by his side when he took his, had his last moment, his last breath. So you can be assured that it was a very peaceful way that he left us, at least here on Earth, right? We were fortunate enough, Nick and I, and Mary, to be with him the night before. Of course, what made it very special, sorry my New England relatives, is we got to watch the Blues beat the Bruins that night in Game 4. We're going to play Gloria, by the way, before we all
We were happy.
Anyone from Boston, bring it out now.
The other thing I just wanted to mention, there's a lot of people that couldn't be here that texted me, emailed me, called me, and I even got 2 phone calls yesterday at the funeral home from people that wanted to express how much they enjoyed being with Dad and what they thought of Dad, and they unfortunately couldn't be there. And Kathy, I want you to know that Tony Caracas called. Now, for those that don't know Tony, he has been the best man twice in this family. First, starting with Aunt Judy. Starting with Aunt Judy, not this Judy. Yeah, Aunt Judy, when she was first married. Tony, to digress a moment, Tony was a close friend of Dad's from Mizzou football. And coincidentally, you can't catch the name, he's Greek. And is actually the way my parents met, but that's a whole other story. But more importantly, though, he was also the best man for Dad and Kathy when they got married. And he called me again yesterday. Unfortunately, he couldn't be here. He just had bypass surgery a few days ago and was still recruiting, recovering. Might have been recruiting, too.
More best
But
men
it sounded great
stuff.
over the phone. So
Yeah.
I give that as an example of all the other people that thought so highly of Dad. And, and it wasn't just that he's a good guy or he was fun. I mean, he really left something with people, and we all know what that is because it was all unique to each one of us because that's the way he built bonds, was it was very specific to every person's. So anyway, I just wanted to add that. And also, Nick was playing some music earlier. He had compiled some of Dad's favorites. And both Nick, Alex, and I, that's more than both, but anyway, have a great appreciation for music and all types of music because of Dad. And when he would travel, which he did a lot of, he would typically come back Friday nights, and it was after Nick might have been a little too young, but it was Alex and I were supposed to go to bed. We'd be like 10, 11, 12 years old, and we knew that Dad just couldn't come home and go to bed. He had to kind of relax, and he relaxed with usually some sort of refreshment, and he put on music. So Alex and I literally would be with the lights off in our bedroom as we're starting to fall asleep, talk about what we're going to wake up to in a few hours when Dad comes home. Will it be B.B. King's I Got a Sweet Little Angel? It could have even been Jefferson Airplane, jazz, Dave Brubeck. So it was always kind of fun to talk about that. So anyway, thanks everyone for coming. Thanks for those who couldn't be here but sent their condolences. And let's enjoy this moment and celebrate our time with Charlie.
Thanks, Nick. Alex? Sure.
Exit stage left.
I would have liked to speak, but Stan's grandchild is yelling, much like Stan. Yeah, that was Stan's grandchild. Got some words. It's funny. I'll just say something real quick. First of all, thanks everybody for being here, and I won't take too long. I know a lot of people have some great memories, a lot of great memories. But when you said that about Dad and us being in bed, I think I told you this story one time. Just a quick story. I'll never forget one of those evenings, Dad coming home on after a business trip, and the music was particularly loud that evening. And I remember, those of you in the Perkins family remember, he had a wonderful sound system and to play that music on. And I remember thinking, God, but that's that's not your normal Brubeck. I mean, that must be Big J McNeely or something. And so I remember as a kid grabbing my blanket, walking down the hallway, rubbing my eyes, and
Like
there
Linus.
was. What's that?
Like Linus.
Yeah, like there on the sofa is Dad and the cab driver. And an adult beverage. And the music was really rocking and rolling. So he actually converted the cab driver onto, somebody the cab driver didn't know anything about.
Iron butterflies.
No, it was some serious jazz.
Yeah.
So, the other thing that I'll just mention also real quick is, because somebody said it to me, and I never really thought about it. Somebody said to me, your dad was just such a positive guy. And when it's your father, you don't think about that stuff, because it's your dad, Dad's telling you got to be ready at a certain time, or, whatever that may be. And I got to thinking about that, and this is a guy who really never lamented or analyzed stuff. I mean, he was very intelligent, of course, but I mean, he was decision made, all in, boom, put on the crash helmet and go. I mean, he was just always positive. It was always a can-do sort of thing. It's sort of a let's get it done sort of thing, not let's sit around and think about how we're going to do it sort of a guy. And my takeaway is thanks to somebody who said to me, your dad was always such a positive guy, because I'd never really thought of that. He really, really was. And so I'm going to take away from all of this, go into things with the idea that it's a can-do. Do it, get it done. And that's kind of how he was. So anyway, thanks for everybody for being here. It's so great to see you.
Thanks, Alex. Go for it, Chris.
I want to say something. Chris Barberos, nephew, cousin, friend. So, as for many of you, Charlie, he was a great uncle. I wasn't going to tell a story, but now I can't help myself. I was a sophomore in college. He's in Washington, D.C. Calls me up, Uncle Charlie, I'm going to take you to dinner. So we go to the Astor restaurant, Greek place. We don't sit in the front. We go in the back where there's belly dancing.
Of course.
The drinking age was 18. They serve, now this is 1975, I think. And they serve in little juice glasses, $3 cocktails. We had a $75 bar bill then. And we walked out to top. Anyway, so he goes, we went back to the hotel, we were hanging out, and then his friend Bill May, who had a lumberyard in Arkansas, was there at this conference. Bill had made him reopen the bar so that he could invite his personal friends down. So we go to the bar. Anyway, we were down there so late. He says, "Hey, just stay over." So stayed in the room, and he says that night he said, "You know what? I'll tell you what. Your Uncle Charlie." I was telling him how I wanted to go. I couldn't visit my family over Thanksgiving in Kalamazoo, where they're all getting together, where Teddy was living. So we just had Nate the Bomber. He was called. He was a year and a half old. Nate the Bomber, called the Bomber because his diaper was always. Charlie bought me plane tickets to go to Kalamazoo and back. And we stopped at the travel agent. We had to go to a travel agent. Stopped at the travel agent. He was on his way to the airport in a taxi, dropped me back at school. Anyway, one of many great memories of Charlie. Anyway, let's just raise a glass to Charlie Perkins. Yeah. Here, here.
Yeah.
Cheers. And please, after this is over, come to my house to relax. Watch your drinking. We only have so many couches. 30 Heather Hill, 63132.
Yay.
Thank you, Chris.
Hey. Chris Haskell?
Sure. Well, so You know, when I wanted to talk about Charlie, I wanted to talk about things that have occurred to me. We all know about Charlie. It's the reason that so many people traveled so far, and so many people have been friends of his for so long. It's a unique person that many of the things about Charlie we all understand and don't need to accept. So if you don't mind, something that I didn't learn until I became a father was Charlie was a guy who did everything with love. The things that he did, I never quite understood the depth of. He would be very subtle, he'd be very kind. He would never say things forcefully or tough. That wasn't the lesson that he would give. He'd give it in a way that was masked with some wisdom. And there was something behind it. And I always got it at the time, to some degree. And then I became a father and learned what kindness and gentleness and wisdom really means when you apply it to the people around you who you love. And I started off bad. I started off not understanding what Charlie was teaching me. And as I became a father further and further, I began to learn gentleness, understanding. He planted a seed in me when I was very young that never really sprouted until recently. And I became better. Everything I did became better. And it's something that is hopefully a seed that I can pass down myself, that goes through generations, so that my kids are part of Charlie, their kids are part of Charlie, and I know that it's going to happen, because that's the reason that Charlie brought us all together. When I was listening to Father George's sermon, something that was so true and what I was feeling was also something he was saying. And it was something out of the end of the movie of Private Ryan. And at the end he says, earn this. Earn it. And so we have the unique privilege of having Charlie been a part of us. And so I hope that the legacy that Charlie leaves us is, now that we have this unique privilege that very few people get, what are we going to do with it? And I hope that it's something that we always pay attention to and can pass down to the generations after us. So that's what I wanted to say.
Thanks, Chris.
You may not need this, but in case.
She doesn't need it.
No, I don't have much to say.
She might
You
need
can
the
get it, Judy,
mic.
don't worry, we got it.
Okay, I just have to comment about, darn it, how Kathy and Charlie are so much alike. How could two people who are both so positive and loving?
Yeah,
No.
you do.
Yeah. You all hear
Yeah.
me?
Can't hear
We
the
don't want
mic.
to miss a word.
Okay, I just think that two people that are so positive and loving should end up together. It's so wonderful. I mean, I know them both, and I know their kids and all of them, and it's unbelievable. I mean, everything is always good. They could have been with other people, but they wouldn't be able to appreciate as much as being with somebody just like them. I just think they're an unbelievable couple.
Magic.
No, you need the mic.
You need the mic.
One of Charlie's oldest friends. I know we've heard a lot about Charlie.
Higher.
Yeah.
We've heard a lot about Charlie from children, offsprings, and friends for recent years. But you know, first thing I heard about tonight and today was Charlie's optimism. You know, and Charlie and I talked on the phone about a couple of times a month or so, you know, and even a couple of weeks before he passed away, he was such an optimist. He said, "Hey, Bill, when are you going to Joplin again?" I said, "I don't know." "Well, let me know when you go, I'll meet you there." You know? And I knew Charlie was, it's hard time for him just to get out of bed, but this is how you feeling, Charlie? "Oh, great," you know, he's always felt great, you know, no matter what, you know, but Charles was not only a friend of mine, but he was a hero. You know, he was the biggest guy. We called in high school, we called him the monster. Really,
Monster.
you know, I guess an offensive and defensive lineman nowadays in high school or back in the 260s. But Charlie was probably the biggest man in the school, but only weighed about 210 because he was skinny. He really was. His rib cage would show him. But he had such big hands, big wrists, and he was just a huge person. He probably filled out. In one of my summer years in college, I was a milkman for my uncle's company, and we delivered milk to the Perkins home, but not in bottles, but in 5-gallon cans. It was amazing, you know. We'd drop them off twice a month. Although it would be a bunch of us friends that would be over there. Not only all you kids drinking family milk, but everybody else would go up to the trough.
Yeah.
Milk for half of Joplin High School. Because it was about half of Joplin High School. Charlie had friends everywhere, always. I was so amazed at some of the things that we were fortunate enough. I was working for Macy's one Christmas time, and Judy's father, Charlie's mother, Phoebe, was in the store with Gordon Parks. Gordon was taking pictures of the family, you know. And she introduced me to Gordon. And Charlie has always been, and I made to Gordon, in case you don't know Gordon, he's was a famous photographer in Life magazine, and later was a musician, a performer, a writer, Shaft. He created Shaft and Rowley directed it, and wrote all the music and wrote the screen strip, and he was from Fort Scott, Kansas. But it was always kind of a connection to the Hollywood that we always thought we deserved for dinosaurs. But Charlie was just an amazing guy, and I loved him dearly. So, thank you.
Yeah.
I met Hardin. I'm one of Charlie's Joplin High School buddies. Most of it's been said, I'm sure, about Bill. He did a great job. I just wanted to say that
Closer.
Yeah.
I don't think it's by happenstance that Charles' middle name is Noble.
Loyal.
I'm sure you all know I'm Charlie's youngest brother. And Charles blessed me with many visits out in Colorado. The one time that stands out the most, I guess, was when I was living in my sister Penny's summer cabin year-round up in Rollinsville, up in the mountains. And a nearby town was Netherland. And I remember Charlie came out to visit, and he wanted me to take him up to Netherland to the Pioneer Inn, which was the local pub.
Still is.
And he just loved it. I mean, that was so much fun to have him want me to take him there, and then he just loved it. You know, it's this, what you would see in maybe a mining town or something, very rustic, and you know, floors that are crooked and all that. So, anyway, he just loved it and thought it was fantastic. And then there was, I think I was probably 12 or something, a summer that I went out to live with Charlie and I guess Frida at the time. And they took me to, and I imagine the boys were there too, to some big lake that had this huge slide. And, you know, you would get going, what seemed like 50 miles an hour going down this slide. But to go visit your oldest brother and be taken to something like that, it was just so wild. It was fantastic. So I have many more memories like that. But anyway, those are a few. Thanks.
Thanks, Doug.
Doug, you're just confirming what I was thinking about Charlie. Your best brother, best friend, and the best husband, the best grandfather, the best everything. And these last few comments just prove that. We're all gonna miss him.
You're here, Phil.
I'm going to keep this pretty short because I'm not a very good public speaker, but Charlie came into my life. Actually, I met him for the first time across the street, and I think it was in 7th grade. He was coming to a play of mine, and I never met him, and it was, we didn't make it easy on him when we first met him. But he changed my life. I mean, I didn't have a father who was a father, and a daughter needs a father that's the person in your life who makes you feel valuable and beautiful and loved. And he did all those things for me. And he told me all the time, every time he saw me, you know, you look great. I love you. I'm your biggest fan. You know, every time. And how do you not become you start believing that stuff. Yeah, I am. That's awesome. That's really good, you know. But Charlie would take me on my birthday to places like Cafe de France and, you know, I mean, just he's amazing, you know, wonderful. But on my 25th birthday, he, anytime Uncle George would come to town, he'd take him to a place called Clementine's. And Clementine's is a bar of some renown in St. Louis. They're famous for their drag races, and that's not, those are men dressed as women running. And so we started off great, you know, Cardwells and little, you know, little bistros and stuff, and finally ended up somehow at Clementine's, where he threw me a bag of Cheez-Its, ordered me another scotch, and said, I guess this is it, honey, you know. But I mean, he really, gosh, I'm telling you, he was just my everything. He was my rock, really, a lot. But so the day he died, I got locked in my basement. I've rented an apartment, and when you go downstairs, I had no idea you would get locked down in the basement. But somehow for 2 hours, I was locked in this basement of a rental apartment, and I had no idea how to get out of this place. This was all Charlie, by the way. And I'll tell you why, because, well, anyhow, I finally figured out, I just broke out through a window. It was pouring down rain. It was muddy. There was bugs, and this window hadn't been opened in 30 years probably. And I was finished with my laundry, so it was time to go, you know. So I went, and I couldn't get it done, so I had to go up and get a hammer and you know. Anyway, and it was quite the plight. I was crying, and you know, and when I got out though, I just knew he'd put this in front of me. Another challenge, you know, you can do this. You can do anything. You can do this. Just, you know, it's just a thing. Of course, now I'm outside and I can't get inside, but anyway, but actually I didn't, but anyway, I just wanted to say how grateful I am for a family as big as this, and how grateful I am for, we're all step brothers and whatever, but these are my brothers and and this is my family, and my mom and Charlie put it together, and it's just, I feel grateful, just very grateful today, so sad, but grateful.
My name is Matthew Milford, and I'm a blank brother. The Perkins boys. So anyway, Charlie.